Okay, welcome to today's discussion on Alec Baldwin's trial and charges dismissal due to prosecutorial misconduct. I have David in the back from Iron Panther Presents. Let me just give you a short synopsis of the case as far as what happened. Alec Baldwin is an actor on a set of a Western movie. Uh, his account of things are he was holding a weapon during rehearsal, has a hair trigger, it just went off, um, shot two people, one of which died, and the person who is in charge of the ammo for the set has already been tried and sentenced to the maximum for involuntary manslaughter, which is the same charge that he was being charged with and tried for just yesterday, and was had dismissed due to prosecutorial misconduct. So we will get into the trial and all that type of stuff. Let me bring David from Iron Panther up. How's it
Hello,
going?
Jamani. Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, how's it going?
So, what
So,
happened?
we
The
had
gun
this
went off
very
twice?
short. Say it again.
The gun went off twice on accident.
No. This is a 45. I don't know if you.
It's
45.
a revolver, right? So you gotta.
Yeah, so it's a 45. That's a one of the biggest caliber bullets. It from what I understand, it like went through the first person who died and then hit the other person. Because they were
So
so
he
up
accidentally.
close because it was a rehearsal and it was not supposed to have live ammo. That's why the whole issue is
Why was there live ammo in a rehearsal?
that's what is the question. So the armorist who's in charge of the gun props, as it were, she's already been tried and convicted, given the maximum.
Which was what?
18 months.
Okay.
So that's been put to bed.
Okay.
The prosecution should have taken the win and walked away. There's no reason for them.
They wanted the big fish. They wanted the big fish. They wanted Alec Baldwin, because who goes the prop master? Who gives a fuck? Like, people know Alec Baldwin, so they're like, let's do that.
But all right, so I watched the opening statements, and his defense lawyer said, throughout this trial, you will hear statements that Alec Baldwin made to police officers, to other people, and he didn't have an attorney present. He didn't think that there was any crime committed, because there was no crime committed, and he was just talking to be helpful. You gotta shut the fuck up. You gotta invoke your Fifth Amendment right.
Don't talk.
Yeah, because this is how you incriminate yourself into stuff. Like,
that's what they say in the Miranda right.
Yeah,
you can talk, but you're going to incriminate yourself. Like, did you pull the trigger? Of course I did. You what? I mean, shit. I mean, I did, but I didn't mean to.
No, but that's the thing. I want to correct this misconception. He's stated, I did not pull the trigger. It just went off. And the lawyer even went through the manual of the gun as a hair trigger. If you drop it, it can let off a live round or what have you. So it's a matter of him saying that the gun malfunctioned, right? But the armorist, in her defense, was the gun did not malfunction, right? So she's saying the gun worked properly. It's an issue with how the ammo and all this type of stuff. I don't know how it got in there, so on and so forth. Alec Baldwin is saying, I didn't do anything. Like, it just went off. I had no expectation of there being an actual bullet in the gun. And what am I being charged for? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people. But there's the prosecution is saying you were being reckless and you should have been more safer or cautious with an actual gun, even though it was supposed to be dummy rounds in it, which makes no sense. Like there's no way for there to be an actual expectation on a movie set where there's not supposed to be real bullets, even though it's a real gun.
So that was my other, as a layman of law and movie, it's Hollywood productions. My question was, why are live rounds on a set at all in any way, shape, or form? There's too many options. There's too many opportunities for people to get actually killed. As in the Crow, for example. I mean, that's the only one that comes to my mind. It does happen, but I'm like, I don't understand why live rounds are even on the set for this to happen.
From what I saw from the Hannah Gaultier's the Armistice trial, it was a matter of the rounds were mistaken or mixed, commingled, and
live and blanks.
And there's a dispute of where and at what point that actually occurred. Did it happen when she took the props from her father's house, who was a famous armorist, to New Mexico? Did it happen at the prop house? Did it happen on the prop cart or the prop truck? At what point did these live rounds get commingled with the dummies? And that's the issue of at hand, so to say, for her trial. And then she threw away evidence. The police had never dealt with anything like this in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where they're on a movie set and not knowing, okay, there's the location that they're filming at, there's the prop house, there's all of these witnesses. How do we interview? How do we secure a scene? All of that type of stuff. They had no idea what to do. And a lot of stuff got tampered, lost, destroyed, all of this type of stuff. The gun, they sent it away to the FBI for a test that destroys the gun in the process, so it can't be tested any further.
The test destroys the gun on purpose?
Correct.
I don't know.
They could have chosen to do a test where the gun doesn't be destroyed, but they didn't choose that one. They chose the one where the gun gets destroyed in the process of testing. And the defense,
she still got convicted?
Yes, she got convicted. We're not even, she's not even in dispute. Like, we're not even talking about her.
I'm just
as far as what was being brought up at Alec Baldwin's trial is,
if his defense was the gun malfunction, just check the gun.
Yes,
but the gun got destroyed, but you can't check the gun.
Correct.
So that's
why you say, what is up with this prosecution? The prosecution does their opening statements, and it's weak. It's very, very weak. Right? He was being reckless.
How?
But they are not. They have their case to put on to prove that he was being reckless, right? But we never got to that actual.
They never got to the theory. The prosecution never started their case to be like, "This is our theory that he was just running around the set pointing the gun at people."
That is the theory, is that he did pull the trigger, or that he was being reckless with the gun in prior instances on set. Therefore, this is why this occurred later on, because he was being reckless again. And it's like, even if he was being reckless, there's no expectation of there being a bullet in the gun. It's supposed to be dummies. And you're not, as an actor, you are not supposed to be the one who's checking the rounds and
checking the rounds before.
Yeah.
Despite my character, I don't know anything about bullets or guns. So
yeah.
that's not
So that's what the prosecution is saying, is that he had a duty to check
double
the
check
gun,
the expert's work.
and he has said, in his statements to police without an attorney, is that I didn't want to offend the armorist and all the other people on set by double checking after their work.
So that's okay. So that is, I would say that is fair. And then it goes to if this would have went to the jury, then it would have been the average person asking themselves, what would you do? Like, would you try to, unless you know weapons on your own, and you could, well, like if this actor who just goes from set to set playing different characters are supposed to think that he's at the same level, if not better, than the expert who handed him this weapon, with the ensuring that this is supposed to be this is a staged weapon with blanks, that you're not hurting anyone. And it's like, no, he trusted in his cast. But then they said, well, he's the executive producer, so now therefore he's also at fault from a management perspective.
No. They actually dropped that from the case. That was originally what it was, but then they dropped his production responsibility off of it. So it's just him as an actor is what's on trial.
And you can't do that. Like, I mean, if Keanu Reeves, I mean, if Bruce Willis, like if Will Smith in recent, Bad Boys 4, if they actually would have shot someone on set, you can't hold them responsible. If it was within the rehearsal of the scene, to me, as written, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as an actor. I'm told that my props are safe, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So that was my question. Did it happen while filming or rehearsing a specific scene?
It happened during rehearsal. What happened is not on film because it was a rehearsal. It's not on film. So like, they're showing clips throughout the trial, and it's of the scene, like them doing, like rehearsing the scene prior. And then they went to lunch and came back, and they're like rehearsing before they actually get to film. Yeah. So, and then that's when it occurs. But they have film of them rehearsing prior.
Generally rehearsing. They're like, this is what it looked like. This is what it looked like. It wasn't that specific moment when the gun went off, but this is in general what it looks like as they were rehearsing the scene.
Because, all right, so to explain a little bit better, there's two shots, right? There's the I'm at a distance, right? I pull a gun and shoot, right? And you get like the puff of smoke and all of that from the shot, right? But then there's the up close, and it's just like the bang sound. You know what I mean? Nothing comes out. So like, because there's like the blanks, and then there's the dummies. The blanks are the like from the distance, and you get the puff of smoke and everything, like it's an actual round. But the dummies, it's just, it's just, just so you can get an up close shot with the camera, and you're not shooting anything because you're that up close. Yeah. So they had already done the long shot. Now they're doing the up close, which is why the people are rehearsing so close up with the gun, and they get shot.
So when I watched the video of the judge's ruling, and when she said Brady, I thought of The Chi, actually, in our recent discussion of that, and then I thought of Proctor. Like, I thought of Proctor when he was like, this needs to be like dismissed with prejudice. I was like, this is some Hollywood stuff that I would not believe if somebody would have wrote this. I would be like, no.
Like, all right, so let's get into it, because this is I was arguing with I guess you said like my girlfriend's sister or whatever, because we're not married.
You would say, are they sisters or not, Jemani?
No, like, they are sisters, but I was gonna say sister.
That is your girlfriend, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say sister-in-law, but we're not married. So we were arguing because she works in the court system and I have my degrees, and she, and she's like, you're anti-cops, and I'm like, I'm anti-prosecution, and for all of these reasons, I'm like, I cannot wait till the next conversation. But so basically, the prosecution has a weak case when they do their opening statements. Then the defense comes, and there's a professional decorum, I guess you'd say, right? Of you don't interrupt during opening statements and closing statements, right? Unless somebody is doing something like
egregious.
Yeah. This lady interrupted 3 times in his opening statement.
The prosecution interrupted the defense.
Yeah. And then every time they brought on witnesses, because it's the prosecution's case, he's doing the cross-examination. Every other question. Can we have a sidebar to the judge? Sidebar? Objection. There was no momentum in anything he could do. He couldn't. And a lot of the stuff was getting overruled. So it was just like, you're just being obstructive at this point, right? And they started with like a patrol officer who was the first to show up on scene. There was really, not a lot to go on from that, other than what was Alec Baldwin's demeanor and all that type of stuff. And but when you get to the CSI person who looks like Rosie O'Donnell, that's when you get into like the meat of the case, because it only lasted 3 days, but they're really trying to grill her and say, you didn't do your job.
Yes.
And she's really trying not to get fired. Because, you're on the stand, you're on camera, the whole world's watching. You didn't do your job, you're going to get fired.
Why didn't you give up this evidence that you knew would be favorable to the...
That's not her. That's the lawyer, the prosecutor.
I saw that one. I saw that one like earlier this afternoon, when it was like, why didn't you give up the report that would have
that's the prosecutor. How they found out about it is because they're talking to her. Did you find this? Where did you find this? Did you search all of the boxes in the prop house? No, we didn't search. We searched we did a reasonable search. You said you searched everything. So now you're saying reasonable. What is reasonable? Yeah, if there was clothes in the box, then we didn't search the box. So if it had 38 rounds, we didn't search it because we're looking for 45 rounds. And so forth and so on. And stuff that she's saying is being constantly contradicted, and she's being caught in stuff and rephrasing and all this type of stuff. They finally end up saying, so what happened with these rounds that were turned in? Like, what rounds that were turned in? Well, there's a report on them and all this, and then it becomes a matter of the detective is on the stand and they're asking him about the stuff too. Basically, they end up calling for a motion, which means the jury's out and they're just in court, just the lawyers and everybody else. Yeah, there's been evidence being suppressed. Where's the evidence at? And the prosecutor has to take the bench, not the bench, but has to take the witness stand. And this is something you rarely ever see. So she gives a proffer, right? She didn't want to do a verbal or oral proffer. She just wanted to give a proffer in writing, which is basically, this is just my statement or my account of what happened. So she gets on the stand and she just gives her narrative of what happened, like from beginning to end. This is what happened, because obviously she can't question herself. So she just says everything. But before that happens, this is before lunch. I mean, this is after lunch. But before lunch, her co-counsel, her ADA that she's trying the case with, right, says, we need to dismiss this case. Because she just started on the case in April. She had nothing to do with the Hannah Gutierrez trial. She doesn't know all the stuff that the lead prosecutor knows. She's just on the Alec Baldwin portion of it, right? And she's has no idea about the suppressed evidence, but when she finds out, she's like, we need to dismiss the case. And she's like, no, we're not dismissing the case. We're going to go forward. So she quits right there on the spot.
The assistant prosecutor.
Yeah. I mean, they're both ADAs, but she's co-counsel, not lead counsel.
Right? Co-counsel was like, I want nothing to do with this. Lead counsel was like, we're still going forward. And then now she done. Now she resigned, right? The lead counsel.
No, the co-counsel.
Oh, she resigned.
Yeah.
From the case or from her job in general?
I believe it's from her job, because I'm like, you can't resign from
a case
without resigning from your job.
I thought it's like I recuse myself. You know, I cannot in good faith prosecute this particular case. I still want to be an ADA. I just can't do this particular case. I thought. I didn't realize she had to now she jobless over the whole thing. But I mean, it was
because I'm saying that would be a recusal, but they said she resigned. So that means
she done. I mean, that's how I took it. I mean, but with I didn't think again. It seems silly to accuse Alec Baldwin unless he was again responsible for loading the weapon, which he was not, or again he was using it outside of rehearsal or filming, which means he's just running around the set with a gun pointing at people or some craziness. Then that would have been a case.
But that was a portion of their argument was, he was pointing at people, playing around. In other instances, not this instance, but in other instances.
So they're saying he showed a pattern of reckless behavior. That's what they were going for.
Correct.
Okay.
But I'm like, if that wasn't a part of said pattern,
then how's that relevant?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it still goes. It's like he's done it before. Like, so again, so they were grasping at straws, but they were trying to say like he showed a pattern of reckless behavior, and this time the gun went off and hurt somebody and killed somebody else, but it wasn't his job to know whether he had real rounds in his weapon or not. That's the prop person's job and the armorer's job.
So here is the legal aspect of everything, right? The prosecutor gets on the stand. She gives her account of what happened. And what has occurred is there are these rounds. This guy has them. He's contacted the prosecution, right? And from the information that he's given them, they said, this is not relevant. Like, these are not the same rounds as the rounds that we're looking for. So we're good, right? And then the defense for Hannah Gutierrez says, we're going to use you as a witness and we're going to call you. So the guy comes to the trial. And I guess the defense lawyer, has done his homework since speaking with him. Because when he shows him what he has, he says, I'm not calling you. Now get out of here. Right? And it's because these are the rounds that match. So it goes against Hannah Gutierrez, right?
Oh, okay.
So her lawyer's like, no, we don't need you. Go away. So then he goes to a deputy in the court and says, I want to turn these in.
Oh, the rounds that were relevant.
And the deputy's like, all right, well, there's nobody here to take them. We'll just vouch for them or what have you, right? They don't really take a good statement, whatever, right? But it gets put on a police report that has nothing to do with Alec Baldwin, right? So it's under a different case number.
Yeah, okay. What do you mean the case number was different? So this is it was like it was separate evidence and quote a separate case. So they're like, what does this have to do with Alec Baldwin? But it does have something to do with Alec Baldwin because they're the rounds that was supposed to be in his weapon.
Correct. So no, it's not the rounds that were supposed to be in his weapon because the one round that killed went through, they got it from the hospital, from the victim, right? They're trying to find the ammunition, the live ammunition in which the bullet came from, because you don't just have a single live round.
Yeah.
it comes, where is the other
rest of the ammo? It came
and
from
then that shows motive or recklessness based on where did it derive from, how did it travel, like the chain of custody, where did it travel from, what was done with it afterwards. That shows, that basically shows motive or intention of some sort.
Okay.
So that's why it was material, even though it wasn't actually expelled rounds. So it gets there's a police report, everything like that, and it just falls by the wayside, right? The prosecutor doesn't really look at it or pay attention to it according to what she says, right? And then she's like, well, it wasn't material. It didn't
go anywhere.
It didn't. It didn't help your defense. It didn't. That's not. And they're like, well, you don't get to make that decision.
Oh, it's up to us to decide whether or not this is.
It's up to the defense to decide what is their trial strategy for a defense. Because when a prosecutor charges you or the state charges you with a crime, let's just say you're completely innocent, right? How do you defend yourself against something you didn't do? Like you could have a million reasons why I'm innocent. When you go to trial, pick one. What is the best one that goes towards?
I wasn't there. It was wrong rounds. So they're saying just in general, the evidence would have helped them at least come up with a strategy. But by the time they found it, it was too late because the trial's already started.
Yeah, you already have a jury impaneled. You've already done opening arguments. Jeopardy is attached, right? So now we don't have the opportunity to test said evidence, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have the opportunity to come up with a strategy to work this into a defense. So therefore,
we're dismissing with prejudice.
Correct. But so the defense attorney comes on and he's cross-examining her. And this is why you never want to be in this situation as a prosecutor. Like, he's like, well, you don't like my client, do you? No, it's not that I don't like. I didn't say I didn't like him. Well, did you not tell witnesses he's a cocksucker?
Damn.
No. I don't recall. But do you deny saying it? Provide me evidence saying that I said it.
Well, I mean, if you accuse me, you gotta have evidence. But I mean, so what does it mean from a civil suit? Like, so can the victim's family take civil?
Like, it's like separation. It has nothing to do with.
Is it still vulnerable to a civil suit? Is my question.
I thought he settled already with them civilly.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Because the only thing in my life experience, the only thing I got is OJ. OJ was found not guilty, and he got it in civil court. So there's a thing, so if you already took care of the civil matter, then that's taken care of. But I would imagine, the average person knows the criminal case is not the end of the story. If I don't want it to be the end of the story, like civil case can still be brought up. But if you are settled the civil suit, then the criminal was the only thing he had left to face.
Yeah, and I'm like, they waffled or flip-flopped on, are we charging him or are we not charging him, for like the past 2.5 years before the trial. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna charge him. Because, it was, he's charged, we dropped the charges. Now we'll bring the charges back. It was flip-flopping back and forth. So I have no idea why they felt the need to go for this with such a weak case, and it has severely hurt them more than it has helped them, to the point where I think I heard that the Hannah Gauthier is trying to appeal, which I don't think is going to go anywhere because I'm like she'll probably be out of jail before they even hear the appeal.
So I thought, I mean, big things. I mean, I think, again, as I said, I think it was more the going after the big fish. People know Alec Baldwin, they know the name, so they probably thought they could make a name for themselves going after a star, and trying to make an example out of him instead of the armorer. And then what does this mean for, again, future actors that do action movies? Kevin Costner is in apparently a good Western, and that's a lot of shooting, a lot of close action stuff, like what does that do for other similar movies where it's like, okay, we're less likely to have gun scenes, like this. Is that more regulation? If Alec Baldwin would have got convicted somehow, how does that impact Hollywood and actors who are going to be like, it ain't going to be me, like I'm not going to be the one holding the weapon at all, in this gunfight movie, because you're not going to have me prosecuted, for mishandling what I thought was a prop weapon. I mean, it was a big deal. It is. I think it was a big deal for Hollywood, especially for action movies, and how they deal with it. Even now, I mean, how have they adjusted to be like, we hope this doesn't happen again, in these types of things?
I think that's still not an actor issue. That's a armorist or a prop issue. Like they are taking more stringent safeguards, but the actor is still oblivious or unaccountable for any of that because that's not their responsibility. That's not their role.
It's still their choice. I'm saying my point is it's their choice to say, I'm not doing that role. Like you're not attaching me to this movie because I'm not going to be putting Alec Baldwin's situation. To your point, I have nothing to do with what happens behind the camera. Like that's not my thing. But in the end, I'm the face and the hand of this shooting scene and this weapon. And I'm not. I would be concerned from the legal. Like, is there going to be insurance? The lawyers going to be like,
I'll put it to you this way. After Harvey Weinstein, we've seen sex scenes in TV shows and movies calm a hell of a lot down. They have these intimacy coaches on set and is more choreographed and everything like that. The movie industry has gone on and like, this is just like an anomaly with this whole Rust case. Like, I don't think it does anything for the actor. I think it affects the industry of props and armors, but it has no effect on actors going forward.
Well, I say the verdict helped them. I mean, to your point, that they know they don't have to worry about it. Is what I'm saying. Like, where Alec has proved that even if somehow somebody does blame them for this accident, I mean, it's very unlikely that they're going to be, held accountable unless they were doing something egregious, obviously. Where, if you stay within the boundaries that you'll be okay, I'm
like, I don't think
that's going to come out.
Like this is precedent, so to say, because the case was tossed because of prosecutorial misconduct. It's not like the jury found him
not guilty.
Yeah.
For example.
So that would set precedent to say, all right, in this case, it was shown that there is no culpability for doing that action, but that wasn't proven. It was just dismissed
altogether. So is this movie going to come out, the Rust? I mean, it's got a lot of free advertisement. I mean, I'm sure people will want to see it at this point.
I believe so, but I'm like, I don't think that they've ever finished shooting it. So I'm like, I just want to know if you are a producer or you put some money into this movie.
Yes.
You just basically threw that money down the drain.
I can't imagine Alec Baldwin or anyone being like, "Hey, we got to finish this film." No, we do not. Like, we need to let this one go. But
that movie, you might as well just subtitle it "In Memory of."
Dude, I mean that's millions of dollars like down the drain with that. But again, it's not just because it's a Western, but I mean anything that's weapons driven. Westerns often are. They're gonna think about this, right? They have to, like this, they don't end up in this situation. So it'd be interesting. Anyway, it was an interesting case. It felt very cinematic in and of itself. Who's you think Alec Baldwin will play himself when FX does this as a documentary?
No, I think Alec Baldwin was not, patting lawyers on the back and like I just won a championship. He was like crying.
But that's why this is such a good story. Like they could be
I know, but I'm saying I think he doesn't want anything to do with this anymore. He's like, it's finally done. It's out of my life.
That's why you gotta have this. Like, I'm just kidding, but I would love to see in our lifetime if so they actually do make the making of. To your point, how do you recover the money you lost? Like, you better turn this shit into a Netflix or a FX a limited series or a movie. Probably limited series they're probably going to do. I would submit it just needs to be a movie. But they could easily do a limited series, especially if the armorer got convicted. That's all part of the story. Like that would be an interesting. I'm sure people will watch it. I'm sure people.
I'm like, sure people would watch it, but I'm like, the prosecution comes in, takes the footage, and is showing it throughout trials and all this stuff. So it's like people are seeing the raw footage
of the movie.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's kind of hard to now put this in movie theaters or any sort of context and be like, well, be surprised at the end because Alec Baldwin, they said this movie was in production for a while, like a month or more or something like that, and he just came like a week before.
Oh.
So I'm like, he's like, whatever was going on before, I had nothing to do with it because I wasn't even here. So that's why they kind of dropped the producer end of it off of him. It was just like, yeah, I got a producer credit because of my name.
Yeah. So again, what does it mean in the future? I would say like somebody's gonna turn this into something. I think it was a very interesting story. Maybe it'll be part of Alec Baldwin the movie. I mean, maybe this would be a chapter in his life, if not a separate thing altogether. Is he going to be employable?
Look at the CSI person, right? She looked like she shops in Rosie O'Donnell's closet, like haircut, glasses, suit, pants, she looks like a doppelganger for Rosie O'Donnell. Like,
she said
has to play. If they do anything,
Rosie needs to play that character. You're saying,
yeah.
Now you remember her in American Gigolo, and that was not anything we wanted to watch. Like that was horrible. Let's not do that. Like they need to cast a Rosie lookalike. I would submit. But her as law enforcement was not a good thing in any way.
No. I'm not saying we have to see her at the gym as we did American Gigolo. I'm just saying she's just there on the stand to testify.
But hey, it was bad. It hurt to watch any part of her in that role. But hey, Alec, do you think Alec will be is he still marketable? You think somebody's gonna pick him up for the next project? Is this gonna stick with him for a little bit? What do you think?
I think he's good. I'm like, he only dabbles in drama as of recent. Like he's become more of a comedy person, 30 Rock, Saturday Night Live, and all that type of stuff. So he's been more into the comedy realm as of late. So he can always, go continue in comedy and just dabble or take little steps into drama as he's been doing it. I don't think it'll have any effect on him.
I would submit he's much more of a dramatic actor who dabbed into comedy. I mean, SNL is a episode. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody does. What?
But I'm like, 30 Rock was, I don't know, I was on for like 8 weeks. I mean, 8 years or something like that.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. I see your point.
But this goes towards that whole YSL trial in Atlanta because there is prosecutorial misconduct down there.
Oh,
and they're filing motions every day, and the defense has been like, this ended in 3 days, right? they have been going for well over, close to a year at trial, but pre-trial stuff, more than 2 years. So they, with all of the misconduct and everything that's going out because the trial has been stopped, halted, they want to get the prosecution on the stand and they want to get the judge on the stand. So what happened in this case where the prosecutor took the stand, they're chomping at the bit for the opportunity to have that day happen, because it's an obvious mistrial for that, but that's a RICO.
Everybody loves that RICO. I mean, again, another trial courtroom drama that would make great television. That's definitely a TV show, a limited series. That's not. I would say there's more meat there than a movie. But
I don't even think you could do a limited series on this. This would have to be multi-seasons. It's like there's so much there.
Nah, they get it down to 10 episodes. They're not doing every day in the courtroom, Jemani.
Not every day, but I'm saying this. It's not like a trial where, like an OJ trial where, they had highlights here and there. This is something where something big happened for an entire month, but yet this whole thing has been going on for like 3 years.
They've done decades in 2 hours, buddy. It can't be done. It's not a series. Like you don't make a series off of one case. You make a series off a lawyer doing different cases. Maybe, I mean, like Lincoln Lawyer, for example, which they've done a good job of, like each season is one case, but it's still one case. I would still submit this probably be better as a Netflix or Hulu original series. And as good 10 episodes, good solid 10 hours. They can get once it's over. I mean, mistrial, whatever. They could easily do that. I have to get to Westeros, so.
What's Westeros?
Yes, I gotta get to my next video.
I don't know. Okay. All right. So closing it out. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. And see you on the next video, guys.
You, man. Thanks.